Welcome to Real Estate Coach Uncensored on Inman News, where you'll find the best practices, tools, and technology tips to help you grow your real estate business. Here are your hosts, Bernice Ross and Greg McDaniel.
Welcome. I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and President of BrokerAgeUp and RealEstateCoach.com.
And my name is Greg McDaniel, the co-founder and co-host of the wildly famous and popular podcast, Real Estate Uncensored. But today, Bernice and I are Real Estate Coach Uncensored.
Oh, Greg, we have a fun session for you. It's called The Ins and Outs of Holding a Seller Seminar. And you're the one that came up with this idea, or at least you're the first one I've heard talk about it. And I mean, they have been doing first-time buyer seminars since I got in the business, since your dad got in the business, and that was close to 50 years ago. So that idea has been around for a long time. But in today's environment, especially with Zoom, this is a golden opportunity for you to get in front of sellers and be the one, the sellers hire the first person that they have met with in person. According to NAR, we don't know if it's the first person that they've interacted with Zoom and built a relationship on Zoom, and it very well could be. So we're looking at how you can go about doing that on today's show. So Greg, tell us a little bit about the logistics. What did you do? You've been holding these. What did you do before you actually held the buyers, your seller seminar?
Well, Bernice, very good question. I was actually at it wasn't my clients actually. It was actually, I was representing the buyer, and the sellers and I were interacting because I was there doing some inspections. And the questions they were asking me, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like these people literally have no idea how to sell their home. We always focus on how to buy a home, but we don't ever think about the sellers when they're selling a home. It could be 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 years. It doesn't matter how long. It's been an extended part of time when people just don't know what to do. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, how do I get the word out about this? How do I start spreading the word? And so we started doing social media. We started doing phone calls, because as anyone who knows me, I've done nearly 500,000 phone calls. So I started calling around all of our listings, letting everyone know we're going to be holding a seller seminar, what to do to prepare yourself to sell your home. We did some postcards and a lot of the internet stuff as well. It was actually a big joint effort, but it really got the word out to folks. And we had a really big group of people that showed up. We had about 30 people show up to our first seller seminar.
So, and that's a face-to-face. Now, the beauty of this is you didn't know who was going to show up, so you didn't have the contact information or anything. If you use Zoom, set up like we talked about on our show last week about using Zoom, the link is in the article.
Yep.
You have a registration page. You get their contact information ahead of time. So now you've got a way to find out who's showing up. And if they don't show up, you have a way to follow up anyway. So you want to take advantage of that Zoom registration page, and you can ask additional questions, like things like, how long have you lived in your property? Or if you were considering selling, where would you be? Would you be staying in the same area? Would you be relocating? Do you know someone else who might be interested in selling? It's just, you can get all kinds of questions in there that you can get answered from them when they're on the Zoom registration page. Now, one of the other things, you mentioned that you had 2 co-hosts. How did that work?
It actually worked out really well. What happened was, is that this is when I had a radio show on a station called KGO here in the Bay Area. And so my co-host is another real estate agent. And then our other co-host, who's a lender, we all decided to pitch in and give kind of our own expertise and kind of how to get the home ready. So my real estate co-host, she talked about kind of getting in prep, doing some staging, and then the lender would talk about how to do the mortgages and how to get your financing correct and how to get pre-approved and the documents needed for selling and then buying again. So it was kind of a triple-pronged approach. I went after it with nearly 21 years of real estate, underneath my belt, and kind of talked about what I've seen and kind of what the pitfalls to avoid. And so it was very comprehensive. And I was very pleased with the results and kind of the response from the consumers when they actually sat there, listened, took notes, asked very intelligent questions afterwards. You don't really think about a seller seminar going to be something that is engaging, but I'll tell you one thing, it really, really lit the crowd up.
Greg, we're just talking about using Zoom. Here's another way you can use Zoom. Make a quick video using Zoom. Just turn on the record and invite people and give them 2 or 3 things that they'll take away from attending your seller seminar. And then you can add that to your invitation or on your landing page to invite them. So, and you can post it on YouTube as well as across the social media in all the different places. So Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media sites you're on, post that link. So post to YouTube and then share the link.
You definitely can. And one of the things that, and what I've done from your tutelage, by the way, I took your advice and I made a Facebook business page for the event and then boosted it for $5 to $10 a day and really got the word out. I put different testimonials, different aspects that we'll be covering, live video. I really kind of grew this thing as its own little organism. And people really responded well to it because it wasn't about anything else except for the event. They knew exactly what they're going to be getting, what they're going to learn, when it was going to happen, how to sign up. The whole thing was there, and it was a wildly big success based upon what your suggestion was, based just to do that for an open house or for a listing. So it can work multiple different ways.
That Facebook business page is a good idea, and I haven't heard of anybody using it that way. That's brilliant. I like it.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the topics that you can cover. So, probably the most obvious one that people would have the most questions about is how do I sell my house during the pandemic here? Because we're still various stages of lockdowns and what's going forward. Should you wear a mask, not wear a mask, what the protocols are. So how are you going about this in today's environment, Greg?
Very aggressively. We're letting everybody know exactly how these things are going to work. What are the protocols? How are we going to keep your family safe? So we tell people, okay, in today's way of life, what we're going to do is we're going to provide you surgical gloves. We're going to provide you booties. We're going to provide you wipes to wipe down the property. We're going to limit any showings to 20 minutes. All buyers have to have a pre-approval letter from their lender sent to us, knowing that they can afford it. They're not just door kickers and they're, tire kickers, door kickers, whatever you want to call them. People are just going to waste your time. They have to then in writing admit that they've seen all the videos and all the photos of the property so that when the nuclear family that lives there, they can feel safe and confident that we're not wasting their time and overexposing them in some way, shape, or form to unnecessary health risks. And once we explain that and we say we're going to have drones fly, we're going to have professional photographers, we're going to post it all over social media, we're going to do these different type of boosts, yada yada. Once they understand that, like, okay, this sounds good to me because I'm not going to be exposed to anything. My family's not going to be exposed to anything, and we're going to be good, and we're only going to get really qualified people in. That makes the huge difference when it comes to the seller seminar, letting them know what we're going to do ahead of time to prevent anything coming into their property. And by the time they get to us and they hear this, you can physically see the energy come off of them, like, oh, thank goodness the weight of the world's off me. I can actually understand what's going to go on next. So that's just one of the things we do.
Well, I think that's such a great takeaway, that, that alone. Now, so you talked about the protocols, virtual marketing. One of the things they want to know about, of course, are pricing trends and current market conditions. So what are you seeing right now, and how would you be discussing that in your market?
Well, we're seeing a very short amount of time for homes to be on the market. We're seeing anywhere from 22 to 9 days. Though that's really where we're seeing our properties hit the market, go pending, between 9 and 22 days. And so I explain that to them. I say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're in this price bracket. This is the median and average price, times on market. This is what you can expect. These are the protocols we're going to put into place for you. And this is how this is going to turn out for you from the data that we're showing you today. And once they see that, they're like, oh, I get it. I respect that. I've seen a lot of individuals in the past who do not take the time to explain this to their clients, and their clients are just kind of, their heads are in the cloud. They don't understand what's going on. It's kind of mysterious, and they don't enjoy it because they're kind of kept in the dark, right? Kind of like mushrooms. And you know what? This is the thing that we try to take them out. We want to bring them out. We want to put them in the sunshine. We want to give them fresh air. We want to show exactly what to be expecting.
Greg, so you've talked about the really important things that we need to do one-on-one, but if we're now sitting in a Zoom meeting with 50 people, how do I do this for the group?
Well, there's always going to be underlying a few questions that everyone's going to have. How's the market? How much can I get for my house? What do the loans look like? How do I get financing for my next house? So on and so forth. So you basically hit the high level questions in the Zoom, and then ask people to do private messages with you afterwards to have individual conversations, because a lot of folks don't want to have those private conversations in a public forum. So you want to highlight the big ones and say, DM me your email. I'll email you. We'll set up another Zoom for a private conversation, and we'll be able to go deep into what your circumstances are. And from what we've experienced, it's been very successful.
You know, that's a great recommendation. Another way that you can do this using Zoom is you can ask people, if you have questions you want to share with the group, post it in the chat, but you can also send me a private message using Zoom. So, you know, if you don't want to reveal your name, please just post the question to me in the chat, and then I'll answer it depending on how much time we have, or I'll get back to you after the meeting. So 2 different ways to handle that. Right. Now, one of the things they want to know is, well, where should I price my property? And, we did a show a while back. I did several articles on this called like the $1 pricing mistake, or, I think the image title is why you should price your properties in increments of $10,000. And the answer to that is that, and I went on Realtor.com and Zillow yesterday and looked at their, if I do it on my computer or my laptop, then I'm on the web version. But if you go to the app version on your phone or your tablet PC, then you'll see that there's a slider. And for properties that are under $500,000, the slider comes up in increments of 10,000, so it's 100, 110, 120. But when you get between 500 and $1 million, they're pricing in $25,000 increments. And then over $1 million is kind of crazy. It goes like from $1 million to $1,250,000, $1,250,000 to $500,000, so that's, I don't think we're as concerned about that as we are for the lower priced properties. But what this means is that you don't want to price the property. So you've got a $500,000 listing. You don't want to price it at $499 or $495 because you missed the 500 to 525. You want to hit the 475 to 500, 500 to 525. Or in the case of it's under 500, it would be 490 to 500 to 500 to 525. So again, pricing it sitting on that inflection point because of the sliders, and so many people are using their mobile apps to look at property. That's the key kind of takeaway on that. Now, Greg, one of the things I know that you've talked about when I looked at your, all your marketing stuff for your seller seminar, is you talked about what the sellers need to do in terms of their personal paperwork to get prepared to sell the house. So what were some of the things that you suggested?
Well, for their own personal paperwork, I mean, one of the things we need to get, we need to get them pre-approved for the next purchase. So we need to get all the bank statements and, income and all that stuff, started so that when they sell their home, they can take part of that cash, all that cash, whatever they want to do with it, and put it into the next property or snuggle it away in their bank account, whatever is there. Then we also need to figure out the documentation, what kind of disclosures they're going to be going over, what kind of different paperwork are they going to be needing to sign. Right now with the COVID doc, the PIDA doc, they need to be ready and willing to be signing that on a consistent basis to let people in. In our MLS here in Northern California, the exact number eludes me at this moment, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood when people want to sell a property on their own. I don't think they understand that like an entire set of documents, I think it's either like $1,200 or $1,300 for an entire set of documents. that they would need to invest in to understand, to make sure that they're following the rules of the road when it comes to selling a home. And that's just one of the value add benefits of working with a real estate agent. But a lot of, I didn't even know that. When I looked that up, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like $1,200 or $1,300?
Well,
Are you
there are
nuts?
companies that are in the business of selling the documents you need for sale. So there's a need there for the for sale by owners, that you get that if you work with a realtor.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that's really important that you take a look at is have your sellers go through their loan documents very quickly, especially if they've been in their home for 5 years or less, to see if there's a prepayment penalty. Because those things can, if they're not as common as they used to be, but they can jump up and bite you. If they've been in the house for a long period of time, there shouldn't be one, but it's safe to just look at what's there, because you never know.
You know, Bernice, also, besides the loan docs and everything that you and I have discussed, another big thing, and the most agents do, and if you realize you're listening to this and you're newer in the business, I would highly recommend it and go and get a seller's coverage on the property. So it can cover a lot of the major appliances. Now, each plan is a little bit different depending on which company you're going to work with, but it's going to save your tail feathers more times than not. When it comes to something, because Murphy's Law kicks in, and as soon as you get the property listed, and all of a sudden the water heater explodes, right? Something happens like that. This policy will protect you against that. So that's a big thing. You know what brings the funny thing is, I think we've maybe used our policy 1 or 2 times, but we put it on every single property that we have listed.
Well, that's such a good idea. And then I have paid for more buyer's policies than I care to count, but it has saved me from so much litigation in the past when something went wrong that, and houses know when the owners are moving out and they get cranky and do weird things.
They do.
They're kind of old. But anyway, so let's talk about, so we talked about, getting the paperwork, your loan docs and all your receipts. You want to put, if you've done any remodeling, you want the cost of the remodel for tax purposes, obviously, because you'll want to have that you'll need that when they calculate your basis for whatever you're doing next, or if you're for tax reasons. But you also want to have any permits that have been pulled, so that everything is up to speed and as it should be. Now, what do you need to do next to get your home ready for sale?
Well, a couple of things. One, fill all the disclosures in a timely manner so that we as the real estate agents can obviously get those out as buyer packages. Number 2, what we recommend to do, and not everybody would be okay with this, but if you have a couple of extra coins in your pocket, we recommend to do home inspections. So we say we will do a home inspection. It depends if you have a pool, a chimney, a roof, and a pest. Those are kind of our core inspections. And the reason why we do this, it's going to cost the homeowner a couple of dollars to do this, but it protects them from having the buyers like a cobra come around and bite you in the rear end when they say, well, I didn't know about blah. I want a X amount of reduction, or I need A, B, or C, or whatever they're going to request. You can say, no. You knew it. You read the disclosures. If you didn't, that's not our fault. We disclosed it to you. So no, we're not going to give you this back. Well, this is the price. Take it or leave it. And it saved our clients literally at this point hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it's a little 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 little hits here and there over 20 plus years of business. That adds up to be a lot of money that you've saved your clients.
Well, again, this is just, really encourage them to do the physical inspection, because that gives them a chance to do the repairs up front. And if it's a major repair, you disclose it, as you mentioned, and then, people are buying with, the idea that there's going to have to be, that problem is going to have to be addressed, but you put it on the table. And again, that's the way to make your disclosure as clear as possible. Greg, one of the things that people sometimes think they need to do is that they think, well, maybe I should remodel my kitchen before, I try to sell, bring it up to, so it's competitive with the other, properties in the neighborhood. There are flippers doing this. Is it a good idea to do it?
Bernice, that's a very easy question, very complicated answer, because everyone has their own taste and style, right? So maybe you like, very, very, very one style. I like another style. So if you put your taste into it and I hate it, but I like the location and the property, I'm like, ugh, this kitchen is horrible. Scrap it. and then you wasted a lot of money. So what I've done and I found what I do is I go into your search browser and I type in cost versus value. A site will pop up and it will give you the opportunity to pick your region of the country, what year, so on and so forth. And you'll be able to see if you put X amount of money in, are you going to get Y out of it? Here in Northern California, what we've found is that if your biggest returns are going to be, strangely enough, false rock front veneer, and then your garage door and your front door. Those are going to give you almost every time over 100% return on your money you put in. And a couple of my clients recently sold, and I told them this, and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" And I sent them the site, and I said, "No, check it out." And they went and they did it, and they put the garage door and the front door on. And I'll tell you, I mean, dollars over donuts, man. Every time people came in droves and loved the front door and the garage door. So take a look at it, guys. Just type in cost versus value. Look at your region. Take a look at the report and see what's the best return for you.
And if you just look at the generic side, it just gives you the national numbers. You need to search for your region and the price range, because that does make a difference.
Yeah.
So I know, I love that. Now, if you don't have the money to do the remodel, one of the things that you can do is you can go to somewhere like Home Depot or Lowe's and have them bid out the cost of doing it, and they'll generally give you a drawing. And that gives people an idea about how much, and then they, if they want the wolf range, then, it's going to be X dollars more if they're going to do something less expensive, but that at least lets them see. But, there's the other side of this argument is that houses that are turnkey and already done bring a premium. So you might get the cost bid up considerably for having a house that has the premium looks. So, I mean, that's kind of, that's something they have to weigh and decide. Now, one of the other things, I mean, just some real quickly, make the house light and bright. Everybody knows this. Open the drapes, turn on the lights, eliminate the clutter, get rid of your personal stuff. It's not your house anymore. And in fact, you had a great comment about this, about the memories around the house. I thought it was just, I thought it was really very good.
Yeah, we what we do is we want to take it from your home and turn it into a house. It's a product now. So we're going to take all your little knickknacks, all your little treasures, and we're going to pack them away somewhere safe so nobody walks away with them, so people can see the house for what it is, and let them put their own personal touch into the property mentally. And when you verbalize it in that manner, and you literally, I mean, you'll see people's heads like kind of like turn to the side a little bit when you say this is going to go from your home to a house, and they're like, "Oh, I never thought about that." So we take the pictures down of the grandkids, we take all the little knickknacks away, we open up and just let it breathe a little bit, and people are like, "Oh, okay." This, and 9 times out of 10, like, "Oh man, this is really nice. We should have been doing this a long time ago." I'm like, well, it happens when you move. So, well, Bernice, and then there's always one more thing I want to add in here. What I always say is that all the wonderful memories in your home don't stay with your home. They go with wherever you go. And people really kind of they latch onto that going, you know what, that's right. And they pick up all their treasures and they take them to the next place, and it's just a happy day.
And again, that's, they're remembering those things. So one of the other suggestions you have is make sure that each room has a purpose. What do you mean by that?
Well, you want each room to have something, so it's not a blasé room, right? You walk into a room, there's nothing there. You're like, well, what could I do here? So you'd want to have either a bed or an office or a crib, or fill in the blank, something in these different rooms, so that when the buyers walk through these, they're not going to be going like, well, what the heck is going on in this room? What would I use this for? I leave it up into the mystery. Like one of the homes that we just listed, there's this downstairs area. And if you just walked into this downstairs area, you probably would have thought like, well, what in the heck am I going to use this place for? But they took all the mystery away. They put padding down on the floor. They had an elliptical machine. They had a rowing machine. They had a TV. They had some weights. I'm like, oh, it's a gym. Okay. It really helped me mentally see kind of how that space could be used. So that's just an example, kind of just some ideas for putting purposes to rooms.
And, this is a really important idea because sometimes, some houses will have one room that's really kind of funky. And if
Hmm.
you can, it's just kind of a weird room. So if you can stage that right and show people how that room can look really great, that changes that, drawback to an advantage. Also, Greg and I are both huge fans of Box Brownie. Oh my goodness, that thing is so good. How are you using it, Greg?
Oh my gosh. So I learned about box brownie when I was at I think actually in an Inman event. They were showcasing it and I'm like, what do you guys do? They're like, oh, we digitally stage homes. I'm like, how in the heck do you digitally stage? And so one of our properties that wasn't selling, I called them up and it was, I don't know, it was a very inexpensive amount of money per room. And they went in and they put furniture in the rooms to the point where I was like, wait a minute, are you telling me we don't have that stage, but it looks like that stage? And it showed the use of space and it was absolutely fantastic. 100% worth the money that I spent on that listing.
Well, Box Brownie will also let you declutter when they won't
Yeah.
declutter themselves. So you remove the stuff. You can do sunset photos with regular photos. I mean, there's just so many different things that they can do. They can brighten up dark photos where you can see what's there. Great tool. And then for the outside, if the landscaping is really ugly or it's middle of the winter, you can use a tool called iScape to do virtual landscaping as well. So there's an app that's that's a really good one.
Oh, cool.
Now, the next issue, and this is sticky, um, it's always been one of the toughest ones for the industry. How do we deal with the contingent sale problem?
Very delicately.
Well, in the past, what we've done, Greg, the last two houses I've built, we have rented. I hated. We were at one point we had all of our stuff from a 3,200 square foot house. We got, we were in about 1,100 square foot 2-bedroom apartment. Had and part of it was piled high with books, that we had. So it was just like storehouse. And then we went from our 4,700 square foot house, we went into, again, smaller house, at least had the room, but it's just like that house, I just couldn't get out it fast enough. It's just like, and so happy to have landed. So to get around doing that, so you don't have two properties, there are a couple of things you can do. You can do like a lease back from the sellers or from the buyers, but those are hard. In the past, we've done a bridge loan, but those things are essentially the lender will use two properties to secure the loan, and they're going to charge you a humongous amount of interest. So you're going to pay through the nose for that short term. You don't want to do that. But what I really like are the iFunder solutions, and a couple of places to look. Fly Homes is flyhomes.com, and the other one is Home Light. And you want to look at their trade-in program. Those are both linked in the article. But essentially what these, they do some form or this combination of things. They will qualify you for a loan to buy your next home. So they'll look at your finances, they'll go through that. And what they're wanting to do, of course, they make their money by giving you the mortgage. So you get qualified for that. You now know that they will guarantee that they will pay you X dollars, and then they'll give you a valuation of your home. They will give you X for your house as a guaranteed offer, and then they will also, provide the mortgage. So you can write, you can go ahead, write your offer, buy the house, and move into your new home. Then after you've moved out, they come in, fix up, and sell it. And with the Home Light program in particular, I don't know about Fly Homes, but the Home Light program, their trade-in program, if they sell over the asking price and they've covered their program fees and the cost of sale, then you get the balance of the money back. So this is kind of a win-win. So you're enjoying your new home. This, by the way, this program is extremely popular with builders. We're going to see more of it going forward. There's just a lot of it. Now, Greg, to kind of wrap up for the day, what are you doing for follow-up? After the seller seminar is over.
So what we do, we take a very personal approach on this, Bernice, and we call them individually. It's not a mass text or a mass email or anything like that. It's like, hey, Bernice, thanks for showing up, yada, yada. Do you have any questions? Or let's say you weren't able to make it. I'll say, hey, Bernice, I know that I saw on Zoom that you registered to attend. Life happens. We're so sorry we didn't get to see you there. Here's a recording of what we covered, and I would love to get your opinion and kind of see if anything resonates with you, and if you would like to have a deeper conversation and kind of what your plans are. And with those types of conversations that we have with folks, it's very easy to understand where people are coming from. Maybe they clicked on the button, maybe their husband or wife or spouse or significant other clicked on the button, then they registered their spouse to go to the event. They didn't know they're supposed to go. And so we get to have a lot of fun talking with them about that. Like, what event? I'm like, the seller event. And they're like, what? And we talk about it. And I said, well, are you guys thinking about maybe making a move? Well, yeah, we kind of been talking about it, and just be able to just get into a dialogue with them there. So it's hyper local, hyper personal, approach that we take. We don't want to make anybody feel like they're a number.
Well, that's a great way to end for today. So, the bottom line is here, try doing a seller seminar. What a wonderful lead generation tool. And you get to them before, all the other people who are in line to beat you to the punch. And again, if you're the first realtor they've talked to and you've given this information, the other thing that you can do finally that I talked about in the article is you can send them what we call an equity checkup. And very simple to do. It's your CMA, great cover photo, says something about the area. Your NARRPR.com report and a report from homedisclosure.com. You can compile it as a PDF, or if they want a print version, if they're old fashioned, you can print that out, get that to them. And they're going to just be so blown away by that here you give them all this value and you've helped them with all these questions. Who are they going to call when they're going to list?
Us, of course.
Yeah, of course. Final word for today to you, Greg.
Final takeaway, final word. I would say, guys, try this. It was a mind-blowing experience for me when I had the aha. I'm like, oh my gosh, there are so many sellers out there that are in like the silent majority that they don't want to admit to the fact that they don't know what the blank is going to happen when they sell their home, or what the processes are going to be, or what to expect, or anything like that. So be that beacon of light. Go out there and just let them be vulnerable and say, guys, we're throwing this event. Would you like to come over and learn about it? There's no cost, no obligation. Just we're doing this as a value add to you, and and just be of service to them. You'll be astonished on what you're going to learn. So go out there, try something different, and you guys, as always, hit me up in my DMs on my Facebook and let me know. Let me know how it worked. I'd be happy to help.
You're very good about responding to that. So thank you for being with us today. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us for Real Estate Coach Uncensored on Inman News. Be sure to tune in for our next show, when we'll be back to share even more ways you can grow your real estate business. For the latest news and analysis, check out the other great stories today on Inman News.